Welcome to Grab Lives, everyone. I'm your host, John Vargas. Just to start off with our disclaimer, everything we say and do does not reflect the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. The views and the opinions expressed on Grab Lives are not that of the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. Without further ado, just to start off with promoting the 343 Fund. Angela Scooting had come on last episode talking about her nonprofit organization helping firefighters getting the help they need for reversing PTSD using the medicine of Ibogaine and other potential psychedelic medicines. So I'm not wanting to have a false illusion with this, but I know that it's been helping people. People have come on this podcast, talked about how they've changed their lives with this medicine. I'm opening up the doors for anything and everything that can help firefighters reverse this epidemic of suicide. There's no solution anymore. And so I want to have a option for people to look into. And so I fully support Angela's program. She's come on here and told her story and told the story of many others who have transformed their lives. So you can go on the 343fund.org and look into what their program offers. You could also donate to help another firefighter or a first responder to get the help they need. Also, I'm offering something called Inside and Out program. That program entails taking a deep look into yourself so you can elevate your life, your relationships, your work life. And what I do is I take a biological, spiritual, mental, and an overall approach towards enhancing your life to better yourself. It's about a 90-day program. You could reach out to the Grab Lives Instagram page, message me if you're interested. It's not for the faint of heart. I will definitely say that because it is. I am very direct with the treatment, and what happens is you come out on the other side completely transformed. Part of it is the work that I've come across, and from what some of my teachers have taught me, we go into it and we just get straight to the root of your problems and we help you to find healing. If you want to be a better dad, a better husband, a better wife, a better mother, it's a great program. So reach out to me on the Grab Lives Instagram page and you can find out if this is for you, the Inside and Out program. So today I did an episode with Haley, my fiance, and we're talking about relationships. It's one of the hardest things to do in this life is being in a relationship and finding out how can I better myself or what are my weaknesses, my strengths to work through this dynamic continuity of understanding myself and the other person, the other counterpart of who I am, especially with the work of a firefighter or a police officer, because we're working these shifts and it just takes a big part of our life. So I've wanted to do this episode for a very long time to talk about how we integrate our lives and how I do the best I can to show up for her, to show up for Paisley, to show up in every single way. So it was a great episode, and I hope everyone listens and understands that when I come on here and I speak, I do it with the utmost vulnerability and the utmost honesty that I can. I am not perfect, and I honor my mistakes. I honor the humanity and who I am, and I want other people to know that what they're going through in their relationships, in their self-healing process, and their self-illuminating concepts of who they think or who they should be, you're not alone. Like, we are all human beings, and I want the human experience to express itself the best it can. So I hope this episode finds you. And I hope this episode helps you to understand relationship to self and your person. So if you're single, I don't know, if you listen to this, it could help because there's a lot of important factors to understand. So, but otherwise, please listen to this episode and understand that I really care about who you are. And I care about this path. And I care about the work that I do as a firefighter and as a man at home. So please listen and take care. I love you guys. Also, like, subscribe, YouTube and Spotify, and go on the Instagram page and help us out by improving the algorithm. Thank you very much, everyone. I love you.
It's time for Crab Lies.
Welcome, everyone. So today is a podcast episode on relationship or relationship. I have my partner here, fiancée,
yes,
teammate, Haley,
hello.
and she's going to talk about some stuff on relationships and also talking about our dynamic at home. What happens when a firefighter comes home?
Everybody wants to know what that's like. So let me break it down.
I mean, it's really bizarre because you live a different life somewhere else besides your home, right? And then you have to change the person you are, or else you're in the doghouse.
That is actually very true. But I think it's also like I never see you in action at work. So it's, for me, it's kind of like my partner lives a double life. Like you live a double life. Because you'll tell me stuff that happens at work and I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's just such a strange, like, job to have for your partner, because it just kind of throws you off. Because it's like, I see this John all the time, but I don't really see Fireman John. It's like another entity of you that exists that I don't really experience very often, you know?
Another entity?
Yeah,
Like
kind of.
I'm a demon?
Well, no, not a demon, but it's just like, it's this other mask you have to wear, essentially, right?
Yeah, I would like to refer to it as like a role you're playing. But there's a lot of other firefighters who they definitely identify with their job, like, oh, I am a firefighter, look at me. And they play that out, you know, and it's that's what hurts them, is like later on down the road they'll have an identity crisis, and that's when the walls start coming down and they don't know what to do. You know, it's like,
yeah, I think I appreciate the fact that you aren't that way. Like, you leave work at work, and then when you come home, you're like actually your true self, you know? Not saying that you're not your true self at work, but I can see what you're saying, where there's firemen who that's their entire personality because they've created an identity around being a fireman. So then when they're at home, they're just the fireman, you know?
I think it's hard when people get hired when they're really young, like in their 20s, like early 20s. I couldn't imagine being hired in my early 20s, because that would have been a part of my identity, because I didn't have life experience. I think that's what helped me a lot, was the life experience I did have really showed me a lot, and it actually was able to grow in a different way and mature in a different way. Because I got hired when I was 27. So I definitely had gotten past the partying with your boys, going to Vegas, and got that out of my system. And I think also, like, after you get past the 25 mark, that's like the quarter life crisis, you know? It's like,
well, yeah, your Saturn returns hits you in the face. That's what it is. The Saturn return comes like, what, 25 through 27? Most of the time, I think it's at 27. But that's when that comes to kind of like wake you the fuck up, you know?
what is that? What is Saturn return? Is that?
It's where Saturn in your chart returns to the place it was in the sky when you were born. And so Saturn is a big planet for like your blueprint. Like, you should know where you're what is in Saturn for you. And when your Saturn return comes, then that's basically like, essentially it's like your first awakening, because you become more mature. I'm pretty sure your like brain changes, the way that it functions. There's all these, you know, different things that happens, which everyone can look into it, because it's actually, for me, my Saturn return was like so profound. And I feel like the old me died and I was like reborn a new person after that. Like, you're just more mature. Your brain works differently. You think about things differently. You understand things differently, if that makes sense, you know?
So all of you listeners, you see how I know some of this weird shit is because of Haley. She'll tell me like, oh yeah, that's because your Saturn return. I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's pretty interesting, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I always tell people, like, eat the meat, spit out the bones with some things, right? And if it resonates with you, that totally makes sense. So like, I think for a long time, like, I didn't really look into astrology. And then after a while, like it really made sense to me on many different levels. And then how accurate it can be as well. You're like, holy shit, like this is extremely accurate. And then I am the king at looking up rabbit holes and then losing myself in a rabbit hole. And I come out like a frenzied animal, like, what the fuck did I just learn right now?
That's 1000% you. And also, like, Saturn returns, don't quote me on this, but I believe they happen 3 times in your life. So you get one when you're 27, your late 20s, and then the second one comes in midlife. So that's why they call it a midlife crisis, is because if there's unfinished business, or if your first Saturn return, you didn't really shift anything within yourself, then the second one comes when you're like in your 50s, I believe, or somewhere around there, 40s, 50s. And that's why people have like midlife crises. That's what we call it, right? But it's actually another Saturn returning again in your chart for the second time. And then I believe the third time it returns in your chart is like when you're going to die. And they also say like when your Saturn return happens in your life, if you pay attention, people like the older generations, like your grandparents and your parents, they will die around that time. So when I had my Saturn return, my grandfather died that same year. So it's like interesting how it's all intricately connected to each other, you know?
Well, it says here, like your first Saturn return is 28 to 30 years old. Your second Saturn return is 58 to 60 years old. And your third Saturn return is 88 to 90.
Yeah, so it's when you
if you live
die.
that long.
It's basically when your third one is when you're dying. That's essentially what's happening. But yeah, so those are 3 big, huge shifts on your path that help you recalibrate your being. And if you're not listening to them, if you're like unconscious, let's say when you're 28, 30, then it'll happen when you're 50, which is interesting because in a lot of the ceremonies we've been in and the space we've been in, it's been with a lot of people who are in their 50s, right? And they're like, what? I'm just now learning all of this stuff. And it's because they probably had the opportunity or they didn't get the opportunity. It could go either way, but when they were in their 30s or in their older 20s.
That does make sense. I mean, because you had the opportunity to learn, you chose not to. So it's the power of choice being activated with you. You choose the activation or you pass up on it. So it's really up to you to decide, hey, I'm going to do this work right now on myself. And then, or else you know, the word like, or the phrase, you got to pay the piper no matter what, like it's going to happen. And it's paying the piper unto yourself. Like you just have to siphon through the junk you've accumulated throughout your life, multiple lifetimes, you know, if you believe in reincarnation, for all you Protestants out there. But in essence, I think what's really interesting is Chinese astrology is created with a wheel, right?
Yeah.
And so is, let's say, Ayurvedic astrology or larger astrological accumulations and calculations. It's a wheel.
Yeah.
The one that's for the planets moves counterclockwise. And the one for Chinese astrology, it moves clockwise. Because it's earth energy and it's everything that's upon this plane of existence. So when it's moving in that direction, you have the opposite direction. So as above, so below. These things are moving in symmetry with each other.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
But I think when you have the Chinese astrology, you're dealing on an earth sequential movement. So it's much more accurate based on this plane of existence rather than you're making a decision based off Neptune, Pluto, whatever they're moving in. So you can have much more accuracy in regards to like what time is on this plane of existence or what things are doing. That's why I started seeing the results with Chinese astrology.
Yeah, and the patterns of
and
it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it moves in a certain way that's like wow, I can really be extremely accurate with just reading people.
Yeah.
But the only thing with that is like I don't like putting labels on people and
For
then
sure.
creating much of like a belief system with it, but it is fun.
Yeah.
So like at the station I've looked at every single person's Chinese astrology and it deems extremely accurate. So it's like, man, like I know which guy is good to pair up with versus what guy's enemy is. with that person. So it's like,
But it's kind of like the cheat codes, right? It's a cheat code to like help you navigate different personalities based off of their blueprint, essentially. So it's like that's actually beneficial to you because you're sort of in a way manipulating the game, but in a positive way.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, so I have to break it down for people to listen to. So in Chinese astrology, you have two friends, one enemy. So your enemy is essential to who you are, your blueprint. So you get out of the 12 animals, so for instance, I'm a snake and my enemy is the pig. So if I eat pork, that shit is like kryptonite to me. And so guys ask me at work, like, hey, why don't you eat pork? And I tell them, they think I'm full of shit. But for me, that's bad energy.
Yeah.
And so if I put that in my body and, well, for instance, like also pork has so much fucking parasites in that meat.
Not good
so
for you
I don't like
anyways.
eating it anyways. But I did eat a lot of bacon before. And so this is a snake year. So anyone eating pork, this is not the year to eat bacon, baby. Stay away from that bullshit. It's bad energy.
Even though it's so fucking good.
What is interesting about that is that you have two friends. So my friend group would be the rooster and the ox. If I get with those two friends, then you can have a business, you can have a marriage, it's good relationship for you in your life, essentially. So find your friends within your trine of Chinese astrology, you can do really well. And what you find also is that you have secret friends. So the secret friends of the snake, rooster, ox trine, which would be that trine, would be the monkey, the dragon, and the rat. So stick with those two groups, and now you can actually have friends, find businesses, and it would be really successful. If you had, got married to your enemy sign, it doesn't work out well. Like famous people that have had that would be like Charlie Sheen and what was that chick he was with?
I know who you're talking about.
Denise
but I don't know her
Richards,
name. Yeah,
right?
Denise Richards.
So they had he married Charlie Sheen was a snake. His enemy was the pig. Denise Richards is a pig. Now they have a kid. They had a kid in that marriage with the enemy person. Now their kid is like a porn star.
Oh, damn.
So like that's a clear example of bad energy happening. And it can just come up in so many different ways. Like your kid could have health issues if you got married with your enemy, or you could have just your marriage will fall apart. You'll lose money. All these things happen because of those depictions, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's about 90 to 100% accurate with Chinese astrology and paired with numerology.
Yeah.
So that numerology is also another one where you pair that up with, because that's also earth energy. It's off the template of numbers.
So you think that Chinese astrology and numerology coexist in a way together?
Exactly.
Without like the astrology aspect? That's completely separate.
Separate.
Or do you use all three? Because I'm like, there's so many ways you could look at it.
Well, I think with actual like Western astrology or Ayurvedic astrology, you have the elements. So you use the element of who you are in regards to your Chinese astrology, your numerology, and the element of who you are, because the elements make up the periodic table that makes up what this earth plane exists on. So you use that in regards to how you function. Are you grounded? Are you earth? Are you fire or whatever? Because if you're born with that element, then you know what you can be missing in your element cycle. So like in Chinese medicine, they actually see in the organs there's different elements you're born with, and some you don't have as much as. So I have less metal in my body. I have to accommodate by eating certain foods to have that weakness.
Yeah. It's the same as Ayurvedic medicine.
Yeah.
Where if you're lacking fire or kapha, you have to bring in the other energy of that element to your diet or whatever.
It's a balancing act, without a doubt. So, and in regards to numerology, like numbers are the codes of the matrix. So like if you know what your life path is, it's your birth date added up together. Now you know your blueprint of who you are, what your makeup is in numbers. And so you know your strengths and weaknesses in regards to what that is. And when you work with those numbers, the thing that got me was Nikolai Tesla. He had found that and said that the numbers and the secrets of the universe are 369 because they coincide with each other. And also you have like the Fibonacci sequence that is in numbers, that it's a mathematical sequence, which is the essence of life. or the flower of life.
Yeah.
So if you look at like a seashell and you zoom out, it has this numerical sequence that just adds up to each other. So these numbers, they play a role on an imprint of energy.
Well, it's funny that you said that too, because it's like the number 7, right? Like there's
Right.
7 wonders of the world.
Exactly.
There's 7 continents, right?
Yeah.
And there's more that adds up to that number 7. I forget the other things, but that's also like it's a better number out of all the numbers. I don't know. I know I'm a life path 7. And the thing is too, is when you look at all this stuff, it's interesting how much it is actually you. You're like, oh, wait, like I'm a rooster. Okay, that makes sense because I'm constantly like balking and like puffing up my feathers. Like I do that all the time, you know? So it's funny when you read them and you're like, oh, okay, like I can see that these are very similar parts of myself. Like it is describing me to a T, you know? But the trouble you can get into is like creating an identity around all of it, you know,
Right.
which a lot of people do. And we don't want to do that, you know?
Yeah, identities create an attachment, and that attachment keeps you clutching to something that can blindside you. And when you create blind spots in your life, then you're not seeing the whole picture. So be careful with some of these things. That's why I always tell people eat the meat, spit out the bones with things like, so you can grab what seems at some essence of truth, and then the rest you can kind of disperse of it because it's not necessarily useful in your life.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, like Haley is a life path 7, like 7s are the number of knowledge and knowing things. And so she also can be very lonely. She requires isolation to understand knowledge. And so she needs that to recharge her system. And she knows for herself, like she has to be alone.
It's
She
so
needs
true.
that isolation.
I'm like, how many times are we like out in a social situation? And I'm like, we got to get out of here. Like, I need to be home for 2 days to just like recharge my energy from that birthday party we went to. It's just like how I'm wired.
And also how the number 7 shows up in so many different things. Like also, like you mentioned the 7 continents, but there's also 7 major chakras in the human
Oh, yeah.
body.
I forgot about that one.
So the chakras, what I found pretty crazy was, I've seen by multiple people describing this, was like it starts with red, you got orange, yellow, green, blue, and what's the last one's like a teal, and then it's purple.
Yeah.
And so the LGBTQ X, Y, and Z flag had switched those.
Yeah. It's like, it's upside down.
It's upside down. So that means, in essence, like when you're using the chakra system, you actually go up into enlightenment, which is the purple color, which is royalty. You come and reach a state where you're able to have a sense of self, a knowing of self. And the fact that they got that flag for the LGBTQ X, Y, and Z flag and they flipped it, that's really interesting why they did that. Like, why would they reverse your ability to ascend, right?
Yeah, and I think like also the ascension process that we talk about is it starts at the foundation, right? So it's like you have to open the root chakra. You have to work your way up. You can't just like unlock your throat chakra and not unlock your root chakra. Like the root chakra is the foundation. So you want to start with the red, and then you want to go up to the orange, and then you want to go up to the yellow, and you want to kind of work your way through all of the chakras so that the crown chakra is completely open and clear. And so the idea of like flipping that upside down is interesting, because then you would be starting at not the foundation of yourself. You'd be starting the opposite way, which from all of the information I've heard, which who knows what's true, is that like you have to start at the foundation. Just as anything else, you're going to build a home, you have to build the foundation first before you can like put the fucking roof on, you know? So I think that's an interesting, like, I don't know, maybe it's like an agenda being pushed. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, what's crazy too is like the chakra system, like chakra is a Sanskrit word for wheel. And wheel is essentially like these energetic software systems. They move in a counterclockwise or a clockwise position, depending on how they rotate, how you rotate, essentially. And you can move them how you want. And a good person, if you ever want to look into this, is Dr. Joe Dispenza, because he took the mystical part of this knowledge, this ancient wisdom, and was able to dedicate it to like a scientific method of how these systems actually are working in your life, working on an emotional, intellectual level. And the root chakra or the root wheel, that software system activates on fear essentially.
Yeah.
And activates on safety. So either you feel safe in your consciousness, or you feel safe in your body, or you feel fear in your body, or you feel fear in your consciousness or in your life. And that'll cause many disturbances with that wavelength of frequency to the organ systems related to that part of your body, or the limbs that's regulated from that part of the body, or even like your genitals, things like that.
Yeah.
So stuff can come up because you're operating off a mal frequency or a good frequency. And so you can easily change it by going to the source of the problem, which will be the software system.
Yeah.
Because we're essentially like designed like these computer systems. So it's like, okay, well, where do they find computer technology from? They found it from us. We're like this dynamic human biology system that's been derived by divine source, essentially, been created from that.
Yeah.
Which I find to be extremely amazing, really. But I do want to shift this. We got off topic.
Yeah, we really
because
did.
we were talking about relationships. You either have a relationship or relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think
true.
with relationships, it is one of the hardest things, right? Like, without a doubt, it's so challenging,
Yeah,
right? Like,
I mean, Ram Dass says that relationship yoga is the hardest form of yoga.
interesting.
And it's so true because it's a reflection of you. It's a mirror.
Makes sense. I mean, it shows a light on yourself and shows a light on others, right? And I think if you don't focus on your relationship, then it will become a relationship.
Yeah, that's 1000% accurate.
So I think one of the biggest things, the way we started our relationship was the fact that we started healing each other and ourselves at the same time.
Yeah.
So we've seen each other in our darkest moments and at our lowest moments. So because of that, I gained this sense of unconditional love for you, because you can look however you want, because I know you're truest. I've seen you at a soul level, so I've seen you just weep and process trauma and just let go of these old dirty things that don't need to exist. And to watch you bravely access that part of yourself showed grit and true love, and it was amazing. And so I now can see past those things when our patterns show up, because I know where they come from, and I don't take it seriously when they do show up, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So I think what the power with that is letting go and shedding these things in order to transform. So we transform together. Now the things that could have been argumentative or arguments in our life and our relationship, they don't come up as much.
Yeah, that's really true. And I think like our relationship is definitely also outside of like the normal. Like we're two people who are a little crazy, but also we are on a mission to know who we really are, And there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to know who they really are deep down under, because they have to face all of these illusions and this fake reality of what they actually thought they were. And when you start stripping those layers back, it can be painful. There's a lot of grief that's under that. And the beautiful thing about our relationship is that we were able to kind of do that together and navigate it side by side, and like be in these spaces of like deep safety to be able to express ourselves and to find all of the things that were holding us back as individuals. And obviously we were being led that way together. There was this whole purpose for us to do that. But I mean, being able to be there to just witness like the expansion that you have created, in the last couple years of just like transformation, that's also been really beautiful for me to watch. It's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't take any of it back, because it's just made us better people, like just not living so much in the head and living in our heart space and being able to navigate a relationship on top of doing all of that, like doing the work. You know, it's not easy. It's painful. It's ugly. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to stick around for the other partner. Like you hear a lot of people talking about like wanting to do the work, but then their partner doesn't want to do the work. And that's really sad, you know, because it's like they really want to take you with them and on this ride. And if you're unwilling, then you're unwilling. And I think we both kind of experienced that, you know, where I was like, hey, like I'm going this direction. Like there's these things that are coming into my life and I don't know what it is. I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm just going to trust that like coming into these spaces that I'm invited into and these different practices, like maybe this is something, you know, and you were kind of like, no, I don't know about that at first, you know, but then you came and you joined. And it was kind of like I had that choice within myself, you know, and I had to do some self-reflection around that time where we were like deciding if we were going to be together or not. I was like, man, like I'm going this way. Like I know it. So like you can either come with me or like we probably wouldn't have been together, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of relationships end based on the fact of being unequally yoked. And what that comes from is from a state of like two oxen carrying yokes, building materials when they used to build things back in, you know, ancient times, right? And if one oxen is not carrying that load, then it's going to be offset or it's going to teeter-totter. So you're not going to get to your objective in a balanced way.
Yeah.
So it's really about balance. And when you have two people carrying that heavy load of your own burdens, essentially, and you're not subjective to just dumping that on the other person, it's a hard burden to carry, let alone your own shit. So if you do what we call this great work is taking responsibility for your emotional debris, taking responsibility for your patterns of behavior, taking responsibility for the identities you've put yourself upon, and letting your false self ride the show or run the show.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the work to let your true self come through and be the diplomatic, authoritative, sovereign being that we're designed to be. And so what we have to do is go back in time, unravel the programs, unravel the belief systems, unravel the identities, unravel these traumas that are subjective, but have ran our life and ran our programs. And now when you do that, there's a lot of grief involved because you're mad at yourself because of you giving your power away to something, someone, an experience, a circumstance, and that rids you of truth. And so there's grief involved with realizing the harsh truth in that.
Yeah, and also realizing that you're not a victim. Like that's really hard to accept. For me, like someone who's had abuse and like has gone through some pretty shitty stuff in my life, to be in this relationship and to work with a coach and be like, you know, he's doing this wrong and he's doing this wrong and blah, 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 blah. And then to have this realization that it's actually all of your own internal belief systems that are actually what's causing the problem, because you have expectations of how things are supposed to look or how they're supposed to be based off all of the programming that you've had, especially as a woman, with like fairy tale movies and Disney princesses. Like you have,
smut.
Yeah, and smut. I love my smut. But you have all these ideas of like what relationships should be like, how a partner should treat you. And then when you realize that these are all like false realities that like you've been living in, it fucking is painful and it sucks. But then it gives you this like empowerment to not be a victim of those things, you know, because a lot of people live in that victim consciousness of like, oh, I'm a victim of you. Like you don't listen to me, so I'm a victim of you, you know? And we have to get out of that mindset, because if we don't, we're just going to stay stuck in the same loop, and then we're going to resent each other. Essentially, that's what will happen, you know?
Yeah, I'm under the impression that victims find victims and victors find victors.
Yeah, or victims find abusers. Mm-hmm. They just manifest the same person that they've been with over and over and over and over again, because they're not willing to face what's being shown to them about themselves, because they get so caught up on the other person's behaviors. or what the other person is doing because they can't see. They're blinded by the fact that it's a teaching that's being presented to you over and over again, so you can learn those things about yourself. And the thing is if you have a partner who's willing, and also it doesn't even mean that the partner has to be willing. If you're willing to do the work to shift all of those things within you, you could probably still stay in that partnership because it wouldn't have that like control over you. And you wouldn't spiral and obsess over those small things because you realize that it's an inside job and that nothing he does or she does, whoever you're with, is going to fix that pain that's inside of you. Like, yeah, they may comfort you and they may give you some space to process whatever, but they're not going to change anything. Like, you have to do that yourself. It's like how many times I could look to you for my worth. Like, you're never gonna give that to me. I have to find that myself. And that's this journey. And I know people, like I know couples who one's a very conscious person and the other one isn't, but the other one isn't causing harm. That's the difference. It's like he supports her in everything that she does and he understands what she's doing, but he really doesn't really want a part of it, but he's a very good partner, you know, just on his own.
Yeah, I would call them like call it a conscious relationship, right? Or a mindful bond or an intentional link. And like what it is just like we're all woven together in this fabric of existence. You know, and so we have to collaborate with one another and exist. So how do we exist in this life? And especially if you want to build a life, build a family based on the concept that we're linked with one another. I mean, we're so intricately linked that we like talk to each other telepathically.
Yeah.
Or I will have a thought during the day and I'll tell you, hey, I was thinking about this all day. And she was like, oh yeah, I was thinking about that too, about you. And so like,
it's so true.
Yesterday,
it's so true.
But we're so connected that we operate now off this multidimensional wavelength to where like our skills, like our gifts, like our superhuman gifts are actually interacting with each other because we've shed the densities that really are holding us back from these beautiful things. And I think when that's the gift that comes from doing the great work and working upon yourself is you're actually you're elevating your vibration, you're elevating your frequency, and the transmission you emit now is going to resonate to where I can just stand here, be foundational in myself, make you feel safe and make you feel calm and collected to where you can express yourself as a woman and not feel judged, not feel like you're stricken upon your own afflictions of shedding your own stuff when you go through your cycle, your menses cycle, or when you go through a tough emotional shedding of your own debris, right?
Yeah.
And so that safety as a man, as a masculine being, my responsibility is that in itself. And so that link we have, it plays both like a counterpart to each other to where we rise with this unison.
Yeah, it amplifies. Our powers amplify off of each other. And then people see that, you know, and people tell us that all the time, like, wow, you guys are so powerful together. And it's like, yeah, but we're doing the fucking work.
Yeah.
Like, we both do the conscious work. We've done the plant work. Like, we have, and we still do the work. And that's like what keeps this relationship alive, because we could have called it quits plenty of times, I'm sure, over stuff that didn't even matter. It really, in the grand scheme of things, it was nothing to be like catastrophic about, but a lot of relationships will end because they're unwilling to change within, you know? And I think like well, at least for me, like I knew when I met you, like my higher self was like, yo, this is your guy. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I think he might be my guy, but I don't know if he thinks that I'm his girl, you know? And my intuition was just always like, yeah, like, no, you can't go. This is the guy. This is the guy you're going to do your work with. This is the guy you're going to have your path with, you know? And for a while there, I was just like, I don't think this is ever going to work out, you know? And I mean, thank God that you were like, okay, I'm going to come with you. Cause I mean, I think I still would have went down the path by myself, but it definitely would have been a more lonelier road, you know? Our relationship, like, being together and doing this work together has, I mean, that's like so beautiful, you know, to be able to just like have our full transformation phoenix rising together. Like other people don't really get that opportunity, you know, they meet their partner while they're doing the work or before they're doing the work, and then one partner goes and the other one doesn't, and it's like it can get real messy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really beautiful sequence of events because, you know, like, we were both on the struggle bus together for a very long time until like we emerged from like the chrysalis, you know, and like, and that cycle keeps coming back and forth. You know, it just gets less and less ugly. You know, I think the times we have gone through those dirty, ugly moments showed the great love in it all, you know. But as those cycles continue, I guess you can find harder truths in those cycles, you know, and just like work through them. But when there's more support and understanding with it, there's a non-judgmental space around it, you know?
Yeah, and also like non-projection. That's the thing, is like we could be people who are fighting all of the fucking time, but because we're self-aware in regards to our patterns, we know when something's showing up, and we both know that about each other because you know my patterns, I know your patterns. So we can see those things being played out in real time about each other, and then we can learn to not take them personal, you know? Whereas most people would take it personal, get offended. And don't get me wrong, I'm working on this still every day because I have been programmed to take everything personal. And so we still have those moments of like defeat, you know, within the relationship, but it's definitely not like what it used to be, you know.
And the fact that I am a firefighter at a really busy department. So, you know, that's the wrench in the system is, and for all you people listening out there who are in relationships with this type of career, it is extremely challenging because of the dynamic of lack of sleep and these things that come up where I become short fused when I don't have sleep. You know, I'm gone for multiple days and I do come home. And so that is kind of like the work that really challenges us, is because like, man, I know, I take full responsibility when I know I'm short fused and I'll have a certain mood. And so I have to do my own personal practices to make sure I shed some of that stuff so I don't dump it on Paisley, who's a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
So like, it does happen sometimes, you know, and that's okay. That's the thing, is like, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is own up to your mistakes, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. And over time, we can like start to hit the iron while it's hot and then start to recalibrate things. And, you know, that's just where it's at. But like having the mindful bond with one another as a family, as a whole is so essential. And so like bringing values into one's home is the first start. And I know Haley and I have worked on our personal values, which is essentially like a set of personal goals for number one. It could be financially, it could be intellectually, it can be emotionally. But it's like essentially like these shared values are like these principles you set that you're like, hey, let's follow up on these principles. And like for instance, trust and openness. Let's be open in a conversation with one another. Let's trust one another. And if we're unable to collaborate on those two things, then how can we move forward? And I have this pattern when I will essentially like shut down, you know, like I will misfire my nervous system because I'm just a wreck sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's literally like tripping a breaker and something just shuts off. Like you turn on the microwave, you turn on the air fryer, you have the fridge on the same outlet, the whole system will just shut down. And so when I'm bogged down from work, I come home and we need to discuss something and come to an agreement on something, I have a tendency to shut down because I am not in the state of trust and openness with my own self. So how can I be trustful and open with my partner when we're discussing something to make a decision to agree on?
Yeah, and I think as like a fireman's wife or partner, like you also don't see your partner like 3-4 days out of the week. Like a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, you're with him all the time. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm not. Like he's gone 4 days a week sometimes, and he's gone the entire day. It's not like he's coming home at night and we get to have like conversations. We sometimes get moments to talk on the phone, then you get a call or whatever. But it's just a different dynamic because there can be something that could show up that I want to talk to you about, but because you've been at work for 3 days, we haven't really been able to talk about it. And then I have a pattern of being impulsive where I'm like, well, I want to talk about this right now. And it's like, you just got home from work. So we have to work together to find that balance where I have to have the understanding that you just got off of a 72-hour shift and I can't just bombard you with like what I need you to do around the house. You know, I have to like give you a grace period and give you time and trust that I know that you'll take care of it when the time is right, which sometimes I have a hard time doing because I'm like, I'll just fucking do it myself. But I need to stop doing that and just understand because again, like I said in the beginning, you know, it's like you live a double life in some ways just because like I don't see that part. I don't see what you do at work. I don't see the calls you go on. I don't know what that's like to be in your shoes. So sometimes I forget that, you know, I forget that that's what you're doing. And then I want you to come home and hang the fucking picture on the wall, you know? And it's like, I can understand why you're like, well, I don't want to do that right now because I just was fucking throwing an axe at this, chopping this fucking door down, you know? So... But I think you do a pretty good job of like regulating yourself, especially now that you're at this new station. I think before with the call volume at the old station and the lack of sleep, like that was a big game changer when you moved to this new station. And also like where we are on our evolution, right? We've been doing a lot of conscious work on ourselves to be able to see that that pattern of yours is showing up where you're like, I'm being a fucking dick. And the in-between days, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to leave him alone. Like he has to go back to work on Wednesday and then he has to work on Friday and I'm just going to leave him alone because it's like you're barely getting to catch up, you know? And I see that in you. And us as women, we have to have more understanding around that, even though I know that it can be frustrating because a lot of firewives are stuck at home with their kids all the time and like doing all of the mom stuff like that you can get burnout on that, you know? And then you have a husband who comes home and he's kind of just like in a rage or upset about whatever happened at work. But I think everybody kind of has to find that balance, you know? Even women who have a career, they have to find that balance too of like coming home and not being enraged and then being annoyed with your children, you know? Because it happens.
Yeah, I think I would say I'm less prone to anger, you know, most times. Like, I just don't feel like complete rage. I mean, when I'm doing work on myself and those emotions do come up, they do come up for a reason, right? So they will show up in my life on certain windows of opportunities to release that repressed emotion, you know? But I think in regards to like things that bother me, I don't get home and get enraged because the dishes didn't get done. You know, I'll have a thought about it and I'll ask myself, where is this rage really coming from?
Yeah.
And so like I lose a bit of that loses power. It has less grip on what the rage actually is. Yeah. And so that deeper work is important to ask questions around why you're reacting, why you're reflecting on something, because it's not the event that's showing up that is the catalyst here. Yeah. It's the events that are driving you to have the emotion because it's already there in the first place. It's deep within your system. And so like being that excavator and looking and seeking and finding the deep sense of self is great. It's a great opportunity for growth. And so I think it's one of those things. But I think when you have your values set in place within each other, you're able to really see what's important here in this home, in this foundation we've set. So I do have a list of values here. And I know you've been waiting for these.
I have been waiting for them for quite some time.
So I will read some of these off.
Okay.
And I find that that these are important to my own self, because if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of you. I can't take care of Paisley. So for me, my number one thing is decompressing stress. So I have to decompress my stress, because if I don't, then I'm going to blow a fuse. I'm going to blow a gasket, right?
Yeah.
And that comes from like being extremely bogged down, tired, not having the willpower to do anything around the house or come to support you when you need me. So yeah, I think I have my personal practices. The way I do this, I go in the cold plunge after a shitty night of sleep, resets my nervous system. I do the human garage stress reset, resets my nervous system. So a lot of it is activating that parasympathetic nervous system for a dysregulated nervous system, which I've talked about the 3 Ds, which would be dysregulation, disassociation and disembodiment.
Ooh, I like that.
So those things have helped me know, hey, where am I at with those things? Scale 1 to 10. Where am I at, Daddy? How am I about to show up right now?
Yeah.
And so I did write down like sleep, rest. I use rest as the weapon, and those kind of go into like decompressing the stress.
Yeah.
So I do need times to recharge.
Yeah.
And my recent one has been going in the ocean, which has been amazing. I feel like I just dump out all of my shit
Yeah.
into that Peninsula Bay area because like I come out feeling super refreshed, super recharged, and it's really helpful. But
Yeah, I mean, I think the ocean is like your home. You like feel like you're back in the womb in the ocean. Whereas I'm
True.
like not. I like the ocean, but what goes underneath the surface, like what happens underneath the surface, is none of my fucking business. So I'm like knee deep. That's pretty much it. You just like you love the ocean, so I think that is like such a beautiful tool for you to use to like dump all that energy, clear the auric field, because that's for sure what it's doing. Like the ions and the salts and all of that really benefits your body. I think it benefits everybody's body.
yeah, I mean, going in the ocean, there's science behind it for those who live near the ocean. We live here in Long Beach, so it's like a 5-minute drive for me to go to the bay, just jump in the ocean for like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
10, 20 minutes, whatever. But like there's negative ions in the ocean. And so there's an extra electron from the oxygen atoms in the water. So what you're doing is you're moving you're having an electronic exchange, an electromagnetic exchange with the water, with the body. And so what you're doing is you're dumping out bad energy, essentially. Let's just say that bad energy from lack of sleep, stress, whatever. And that's why you look at surfers, man, and they're just like in such a good mood, positive.
Yeah.
And they just like drink beers and like go surfing all day. And it's like, hey, man, what's going on, dude? But that's because it enhances mood. It enhances like your the purification of the body. You get better sleep. And also the water is a bit lower temperature. So you get a little bit of that cold plunge type feeling too.
Yeah.
If you're around like 50 degrees or so. But that negative ion exchange does really help for those who want to like find just like a good practice. If you're not, if you don't have a practice, this is a good one, and I like to switch it up from time to time.
Yeah.
And you go lay on the beach, take a nap, and then you're getting like that sun exposure, which is really good
And
for
you're grounding.
your melatonin and things like that, grounding.
Yeah.
But I think those are essential to like my values, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
and I think I think I value decompression as well, because I need that to just like really tune into myself. And I think we all need that. But I have learned to accept and understand that that is something that you need. And if you don't have it, it's like, yeah, it's not good for us. You definitely need it, or else you're going to snap. And I don't want you to snap. So I'm just going to let you do all the things that you do. And then I'll see you after,
And you think about like relationships, all you want is a little bit of effort, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a good example for all you firefighters listening out there. It's like when you're at the fire station and someone's cooking and they put no effort into their meal, you're like, you eat that and you're like, dude, what the fuck is this? But if you have someone who's cooking that day and they put a little bit of effort in, a little bit of effort that's extra, and you eat that meal, you're like, dude, thanks for cooking. Thanks for putting in that little bit of effort. It shows that you actually care a tiny bit. And it just, it proves like some type of value in that person and that person's heart-based activity, right?
Yeah.
So same thing in a relationship. If I put in a little bit of extra effort, you're going to feel that, from me.
Yeah, and then I'm going to get off your ass.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to back the fuck up. You know what I mean? I'm like, I just need you to take me out to dinner and let me put a fucking sexy dress on once a month, and then I'll get off your back. That's all I need, okay?
Balance people.
For sure.
So the other value I have is teamwork.
I like that.
And I think teamwork is really beautiful because, like, for instance, like if we like to cook at home as much as we can, just for many reasons, health and money and just having like home cooked meals at home, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're cooking by yourself, like it's like, fuck, man, I worked, I got to cook this shit. But when we do cook together, you feel a bit more like you're supported, and like it can also be fun, and it just feels good, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like the programming of like, oh, I'm a woman, I'm supposed to do all of it by myself. Because like being a part of the patriarchy and like, you know, being programmed that way as a child to like, oh, the woman pleases the man, like to have that mindset your whole life, you feel like this pressure and like this weight of expectation is on you to show up in all of these ways. And sometimes that's really hard. It's hard, you know, to work full time, be a mom, do the conscious work the body out, do all the decompressing, do all that stuff, and then come home and make dinner and do the dishes, you know? Like, that's why women get burnt the fuck out. And to be honest, that's why a lot of them leave their husbands, is because their husbands are not willing to share some of the weight of, like, they're just expecting, they have expectations of women to do these things, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural programming with that one.
1000%.
You know, so like getting out of that mold. I mean, for some of those like really intense cultures, like even like Middle Eastern, a Mexican culture, Hispanic culture. I mean, that's a big deal. Like the woman cleans and they cook, and like that's it. And so you better do it, or that your mom or your grandmother is gonna fucking start pointing the finger at you, like, why don't you cook? Why don't you clean? Like it becomes a thing, right? And there's some shame and some guilt involved with that.
Oh, and you definitely have to work through the shame and the guilt of that, because you also have to keep in mind that like our grandmothers and even our mothers, we're living in a completely different fucking time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where the man could be the breadwinner and bring all the money home, and the woman could stay home and raise her children. That's not really happening. It's very hard to do that. Like I think in the state of California, you have to make like dually at least $300,000 to like survive. And that's with a 4-person household. So it's like we have women that have all these expectations of how they need to show up at home, but also work 40 hours on top of that, you know? And that's not what we were created for. Women are not made for that. So when I get home from work and I still want to do my yoga and I got to wash my face and I got to do all these things, that's like on a list of things that I have to do for the day. When you come in and you cut the fucking onion, like it makes me feel valued. It makes me feel loved. It makes me feel seen in the fact that like, I'm not carrying it all alone, you know? And it could be that simple. Like I could do everything else, but when you walk up and you just cut the onion, I'm like, oh my God, I love him, you know? Because it helps me, because then it makes me feel like I'm not doing it alone. I'm not carrying the weight of all of it by myself. And that's essential for like our relationship to thrive, or else I'm going to get resentful. And I don't want to get that way, you know? Because that's what happens. Women get resentful. They're like, you ain't shit. You're not fucking doing this. You're not doing that. And I mean, most men aren't.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
So I think teamwork is a really good one. Self-evaluation and honesty are the next two for me.
Yeah.
Because self-evaluation is going to show me where I'm at internally, because my internal blueprint needs to be like recalibrated, like at least once a day. You know, I like to do it every 3 hours, really, and to check in with my state, my nervous system, my emotional state, and just across the board. And being honest with myself is huge with that. And if I'm going to be honest with myself, then I'm going to show up honestly with how I feel, how I think about things in our household. And so it's not like I'm just projecting at you and just yelling at you, hey, I want this done, this, that, you know, because that's projection. So I will approach it in a certain way with honesty, because I've done that self-evaluation. Does it come out like that all the time? Not always, you know, but will I take responsibility for how it comes out? For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have a weakness of the way I say things, to where I didn't mean it to sound like that. And so that tone can regulate or dysregulate my partner. Yeah. You know, so I think raising voices is not the best for the home environment, you know, and if we do that, like it is what it is. And there's no shame or guilt in response to that. Yeah. You know, we're just human beings. And so in this human experience, sometimes that happens. And if I can take that honest reflection with myself and know, hey, was that okay for me to do that? And I can come out and be like, hey, I'm sorry for that tone. I'm sorry for raising my voice. And even more so for Paisley, so she can see the sense of love and respect that I have to tell her, hey, I'm sorry for expressing my way or expressing myself in that way. I'm even getting like teared up talking about it.
I see it.
Because it is so meaningful to me to have that honesty, because I want everyone in my house to feel respected.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you don't want to like talk down to each other. That's one thing that I really honor about our relationship is that we don't do that. Like we don't talk down to each other. We don't call each other names. Like I know a lot of relationships where they do, you know, and they cuss at each other and they say horrible things to each other. And I'm really grateful that we don't do that, because that just reaffirms belief systems that we both have within when we do that, you know, like some of the belief systems we're working really hard to rewire. And, you know, to be talked to that, like I have experience of being talked like that too as a child. And that affected me on a deep, deep level that I'm still, you know, rewiring that stuff. And it's painful to do that. And so I think it's like really cool that we get to be such leaders in our home, especially with Paisley as she's getting older, to show her what is okay behavior and what is not okay behavior. Because in reality, the man of the house, you know, you're her stepfather, and being her stepfather, she sees how you treat me, and that's what is going to lead her and her relationship with men for the rest of her life, is to see how you treat her mother. That's what she's going to accept from other men, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you're not leading in a proper way, that's why they say there's daddy issues, right? It's like because your father wasn't leading in the proper way for you to understand, or wasn't even present for you.
Yeah, it was absent.
Yeah, to understand what the masculine is actually, how they are actually supposed to show up. So, I mean, I feel very grateful because I know that like Paisley has the best shot with you. Like she really does. She really has such like, it's going to be awesome for her because she has such a beautiful example of how a man is actually supposed to treat a woman. Because yeah, you may have your slip ups. We all do. We all make mistakes. We're human beings, but you take accountability and you own it. And she sees that. And then children are so forgiving. They know when you're being genuine and they know when you're not. And they know when you're just going to repeat the pattern in 2 more weeks and you're going to scream at them again, you know? So,
yeah, I mean, I get super choked up when I talk about Paisley because our bond is like, it is so unique and divine and powerful because she knows too that I learn from her, and that when she feels like a sense of like unison in that relationship, because I teach her, she teaches me, and we both have an agreement with that at a subconscious level.
yeah.
You know, because I ask her questions all the time what she thinks about stuff, you know, because I'm willing to like, and that makes her feel like super heard and respected as like a place at the table. She's not just like, and she's still learning a balance with that. Like we're her parents.
For sure.
You know, but at the same time, like she feels validated in a sense that she means something as a child, and like her intelligence is actually valued.
Yeah.
You know, because
and her voice matters.
Right. And I think children are so powerful because they have less of the programming, you know, and they can express just divinity.
Yeah.
That in itself. And so we have to reverse our concept around children to not control them, but to learn from them and give an opportunity for growth in ourselves.
Yeah.
When we see their creativity, their imagination. Because when we got older, we forgot about all that shit, man. And we got all stressed out and we lost sight in the beauty of it all, in the dance of life.
Yeah. And I also think that Paisley has a very different experience than most children, you know? And I'm not saying that there's not other children who have the same experience, but her life, her path is just very different. It's going to be very different than other children because, again, she has parents who are doing the work. So we allow her the space to be a child, and we allow her the space to play because we know what that's like to not have that space. Maybe you don't as much as I do, but I do, because like you're saying, we forget our creativity, we forget our imagination, but I can't even really ever remember having that, you know? And Paisley does have that because we feed that. We like let her just figure it out. We're not going to put all these walls and barriers around things, and we're very open with her, and that gives her like a lot of room to find true expression of the self. Whereas like when I was a child, I didn't really feel like I could be my true self. And yeah, we're just giving her that opportunity to do that. And that's really fucking awesome. You know?
The next value, a clean house.
Oh my God. This fucking guy drives me nuts.
But
Also,
you know what?
okay, this is another part of being a fireman's wife is that like they have ideas of what things are supposed to look like when they're clean. You know, it's like, oh, you want this clean. The kitchen needs to be clean. All the dishes need to be put away. And sometimes I can be at fault. You know, I'll clean the dishes, but I leave them to dry on the counter and then I forget that they're there. But yeah, that's definitely one you're gonna have to work on within yourself. I'm a little messy. What can I say?
So it's okay, and I'm aware of it's a value I have, and I think if we have a value, then it can be a common goal we seek to have. Because for me, I believe that your environment that you're surrounded by is a reflection of how you are on an internal scale.
Yeah.
So it just throwing away like having in reference to feng shui is very powerful.
Yeah, it is.
So like the energy of your home is really important. So having like dead plants in your house is bad energy. I've got a ton of plants in my house because it improves oxygen levels in the house, and if you have a plant in the bathroom, it can retrieve any fecal matter in the air, and it's really good to have that energy, right? So I put an effort into like my home and how things are organized, but not at an extremist Nazi scale. I know I have a pattern of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And so I like things a certain way, but I don't let it take away my power in the sense like if something doesn't get done and there's a mess, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, there's a difference between having a house that's clean and having a house that's lived in.
Yeah.
Like I would say that our house is pretty much clean all the time, but sometimes it's lived in. Sometimes, kids leave their shit everywhere. There's freaking fruit roll-up wrappers and stuff shoved into the couch corners, and you miss some things. But I would say I also value a clean space, though. Like my laundry may get messy from time to time because I pulled out 80 outfits to try and wear on, and now I got to hang them all back up. But I think I also share that value with you.
Well, a good example is because like Paisley is the messiest in the house, right? And she leaves like wrappers everywhere, and like now I came home from work and there was ants everywhere, and I had to take care of that. And so that wasn't like the happiest thing to come home from work with like ants. And it was like really probably like 10 yards of an ant line that came through the window.
Damn.
It came from the back window in her closet and made its way all the way down to the cat food. So it's like, dude, like how the fuck did this
It's a
happen?
learning curve, though.
So that is one of the things. Is like, okay, something like that needs to be addressed and constructively. It doesn't have to be like, you did this, you did that.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing. So the next value is communication with transparency.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one.
So like in reference to firefighting, right? For all you firefighters out there listening, even police officers, whoever you are, even in the military, right? So, and when you're in an operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
In wildland firefighting, there is a acronym called the LCES. And part of that acronym is communication. If you have poor radio communication, that incident is going to go sour. And that's 100% on any operation when I'm on a fire and the radio communication's off, there's something going on, that fire will have issues.
Yeah.
And up to including death. So let's just face the facts. Communication is so important. And if you don't speak to your partner about what you need, nothing's going to get done. Your wants are not going to be met.
Yeah.
So when you place a value on a communication with transparency, right, is extremely important. I'm not saying go ahead and dump all your shit on your partner.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is communicate at a conscious level to where that bond, that link can be repressed, or not repressed, but cycled back to you with honesty.
Yeah.
So
And we're not always perfect at that.
Right.
Like, we're still working on communicating
Right.
because we both have the tendency to shut down. I shut down, I get quiet. You shut down, you get quiet. We don't really finish the conversation. And then we have to like revisit it in 3 months, you know? And I think people will see that pattern in their own relationships where, you know, you try to have a conversation around something, my needs. And then it becomes about the other partner's needs. And then you kind of don't end up resolving anything. And then in 3 months, you're having the same argument. And you're like, wait, what? We just talked about this, but there was no resolution. There was no actual openness. You weren't communicating properly. And that's why there's like different ways of learning how to communicate, because that's what you need in a relationship. If you're not going to communicate, then, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, the word I was thinking of was reciprocity, not repression. So like reciprocity, bringing that whole connection to a whole with that communication. You know, with the cyclic part of how we operate. You know, because we operate in cycles, and that's okay. But getting your head wrapped around how communication is so important leads into all these values. You know, and they come into the teamwork, the self-evaluation, having a clean house, right?
And there's a great book that's out there, and I think we have it in our bookshelf. It's called Nonviolent Communication. And it's this book that I can't remember the author, but they wrote it about like the way that you approach conversations so that you're not on the attack. Because if you're communicating and you're attacking with your words, then obviously the person's going to go into deflection and denial because they're being attacked, you know, and that's suffering. It's survival mode. But that book is really good because it shows you like where you can change the language so that it can be received better. Because I think that's our main issue sometimes is that like we're just not, the words aren't right. It seems like I'm attacking you. You feel a sense of failure as like the masculine, you know, because I'm saying where you're falling short, but then you see it as like you're failing me in every way, you know, because of the way that I'm communicating it to you.
Yeah, that would be like a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. And that's an art form to do that, to be that essentially, right? To approach a situation or a conflict with harmony, harmonizing the situation where it's within sense of balance and it's within a sense of like art, really. It's like it's with finesse and technique. But if you never taught technique, then how are you supposed to have a foundation for that? You know, so a good story I had heard is about like a qigong master and like going into someone's home. He doesn't eat meat. You know, he eats like a vegetarian diet, right? So when he goes to visit a family who invited him to go visit him, a really good friend of his, they were serving steak, and he ate the steak. And so what happened was his friend had asked him, "Hey, I forgot that you were vegetarian. My wife cooked it, and I totally forgot. I felt bad." And he said, "It's okay." And he said, "Why?" He said, "Because if I was invited into someone's home, I came here to harmonize your house and not to cause conflict and not to cause anything in self-interest or self-righteousness.
Ooh, I like that.
So I came here to bring harmony to you, to your family, and that's more important to me."
Yeah.
So that was a really good example. I mean, but these masters understand the art of it all. Yeah. They understand the flow of life. They know the understanding of lack of resistance, to bring in that resistance and to use the form of Wu Wei into their advantage, right? Which is simply a non-action, right? A non-action way of moving the flow of life. And so if we can approach a conflict, arguments, disagreements with a form of harmony, then it shows we're headed towards a step of self-mastery.
Yeah, and it's like, what does Jenny tell us? She tells us we have to be 8 for 8, right?
Yeah.
So 8 for openness and 8 for trust.
Yeah.
And so if we have to get better at doing this, but we should. when we do need to have tough conversations, that we need to ask each other, are we 8 for 8? Are we 8? Are we open? Are we being honest? Are we being trusting? And if we're not, then that's not the time to have the conversation. So basically, are we in harmony to have this conversation, or are we not? And a lot of the time we're not in harmony to have a conversation, but we will get there. And I think that that's like a really good leading marker to use, is like, I know when you're not 8 for 8, and I'm sure you know when I'm not 8 for 8. And sometimes we still try to have a conversation anyways, and it never ends well. But it is also hard to find a time when we are both in 8 for 8, right? But finding that harmony is like what you're trying to obtain. And when you approach something in harmony, then you can end it in harmony. But if you're approaching it in like all of these aggressive, like, you're not seeing me, you're not listening to me, if you approach it in that way, then the outcome is not going to be what you want it to be, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense, you know, and like on this planetary existence, you know, harmony is derived by making music, right? This life is the intimate dance and making music within accordance of balance, harmony. Yeah. And so when someone's playing guitar, let's say, they strike a bad chord, you're like, ugh, like something hits you, right? Something you're like, oh, that was off.
Yeah.
Same thing in this life. Why is this walk of life any different? So if you can remember that, like when you strike a wrong chord in someone, it shows something not in that person. It shows something in yourself.
Yeah.
And just remember that we're playing music here. Let's make an orchestra of music that's beautiful. And so, but you play your part. You're on the horn over there, you're on the drums over here, right? We all have our unique blueprint and how we make this orchestra of music.
Yeah, and bring it into unison.
So who's the maestro? That's the real big question. Who the fuck is the maestro swinging that little stick in the
universe.
air? Maybe. Who the fuck is that guy? Like,
You'll never know. He'll never be unmasked.
Who's that fucking guy? But you know what's kind of crazy is like, I know those maestros can be really egotistical and like assholes, what I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, so who's that fucking guy?
I what is this? Like, what is he even doing when he's doing that? Like, I don't know what this means. I should probably look into that. Like, how does this tell you like what notes to go to? I don't understand that.
Well, whatever it is,
it works.
We know someone's maybe in charge. Who knows who's in charge, right? But if we can stick to like the role you're playing in that orchestra, I think we can make music despite who's waving that goddamn stick.
Yeah, because nobody knows.
The next value was my mistakes. You know, I really do value my mistakes because it shows me where I'm at. You know, it's like you're playing a video game, you know, like you're playing Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega. If you're a little bit younger, you don't fucking know what Sega is, but I do. You played Sonic the Hedgehog and you hit this ring, you pass that ring, that's your checkpoint. And so when you die, you go back to that checkpoint, right? So for me, my mistakes are checkpoints. And so it shows me, hey, where are you at, buddy? Yeah. Where'd you fuck up on? What have you been missing? What's been subtly creeping up behind the surface or creeping up under the surface, you know, and now it's coming up. Let's take a look at that. What is it? What's the root of the cause here? And let's transform it. Yeah. Because transformation is the key here. It's the alchemization of it. And so a really good friend of mine, Blackwater, who I hope is coming on the podcast. He's hard to get a hold of. He had explained to me an alchemist is making gold inside the cauldron. And as he's creating gold, the alchemist sees the impurities come up to the surface and swipes it away. Mm-hmm. And as this process is continuing in the alchemization of gold, the impurities come up again. Okay, swipe it away. Yeah. Okay, it's going to keep coming up, those impurities, because something is being created in this cauldron. And then at the very end, we have the element of gold. Yeah. Right? So gold is a creation, right? Mm-hmm. And in Japanese cultures, they take the form of wabi-sabi, which is taking the impurities of something and refurnishing it with gold. So something that is broken inside of a tea ceremony. What they'll do is they'll take the clay pot or the clay vessel, and if it breaks, they will refurnish that broken, cracked part of the pot with gold. And now what they do is actually they value that pot or that vessel more than any other pieces that they have had, because they said that it's taken an art form to recreate something that has been impure, to make it beautiful. And actually in a tea ceremony that is deemed sacred in Japanese culture, what they do is that they give that actually to the guest and make sure that they get the most valuable pot or the most valuable vessel out of the tea set. And what you're supposed to do in a tea ceremony is actually point that gold towards the other person as you're drinking the tea.
Oh, that's cool.
To show that there's been something processed, transformed, or alchemized in that tea set. And besides that, all else, my mistakes come back to showing me, hey, what is the truth here?
Yeah.
And the truth shall set you free. The truth is what heals. The truth is what manifests in your life. And so let's stick with what the truth is. Aside from all the bullshit, all of the dirty, mundane shit we want to avoid, let's see what the truth is, and that's what we have an opportunity to grow on.
Yeah, and even though it can be painful and a hard experience when you do make a mistake and you have to kind of like own it, take accountability, it's teaching you something. And that's like the most beautiful part about it is like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks when you're in it. It definitely does. It doesn't feel good. It hurts. It's painful. But you learn such beautiful lessons. And my teacher says, like, if you didn't have suffering, you wouldn't learn anything. And it's true. It's like if we didn't have moments of suffering in our past where we made mistakes and we had to face the same lesson over and over again, like we never would have changed.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
We just wouldn't have. And so that's kind of beautiful. Even though it's like a double-edged sword in some sense, it's profound. And I used to be a victim of it, like a victim of all the mistakes I've made in my life. But now I understand the bigger picture of it. Once you're out on the other side, then you can see it. Obviously, you got to navigate your way through it when you're in it. But once you're out on the other side, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is actually being presented to me for some sense of freedom that I need to unlock within.
Yeah, liberation is like what we strive for, right?
Yeah.
And like liberation is like this freedom, but and we're supposed to be in the land of the free, and I don't feel that way, motherfucker.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on here? I don't feel that way either.
So the next value, I'm almost done here. So friendships is something I value. Like friendships for me is like, I grew up, with really good friends since like kindergarten, from middle school and high school that we're still friends with, and like, I think because that leads into like my loyalty and what I drive. And I see family and friends like the same thing. Like my friends know more about me than my family do,
Yeah.
So that is really important to me and valuing those things. And I think we try to do the best we can to kind of create a community of friends that we really grew up with, and that we have like continuity and growing together. I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think for our relationship, what's so different too is that like we are best friends. Like you're my best friend, and that's so rare. Like we literally tell each other everything. And I think the foundation of our relationship, we started just being friends and kind of like were friends for a few years before we like actually committed to each other. And I guess I wouldn't take that back for anything, because I think we needed that to like really be in each other's corners and to like really have each other's backs in all regards. And I'm not saying that people who didn't have that is any different, but for us, I do know that like I don't conceal anything from you. Like I reveal everything, and the only reason that I feel safe enough to do that is because you are my best friend. And I've never dated someone in my life that I've ever really felt that way about. That was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're in a relationship, but you're also my friend,
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's just different.
I fucking agree. So I did say loyalty. That's my next value is loyalty.
Well, you got the
know?
rooster over here, baby.
Yeah.
We
So
are as loyal as they come.
Haley's a rooster, and roosters in Chinese astrology are extremely loyal. But if you backstab them, better fucking watch out because rooster is about to cluck the shit out of you. But also, roosters are a bit more aggressive compared to other Chinese zodiac signs. Like if a rooster doesn't like you, they'll fucking tell you.
Yeah.
Like straight up, like I don't fucking like you. You know, so other signs are not like that.
It's so true.
So, and her enemy is the cat. So, cats are complete opposite. And cats don't fucking like you. They don't even bother being around you. They're just like fucking
they
avoid you
pretend
at
you
all
don't
costs.
exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but in the last two are a stillness. I value stillness and I value family time.
Yeah.
So stillness for me has become one of my greatest teachers, practices, and lessons because what happens is in stillness, the world becomes like this a map and being still. And I had a hard time growing up being still. So what I realized in using that practice is I started to really hone in on like blind spots, illusions, and I became more of an expert on what those are. And without stillness, I would never understand, my weaknesses. And now I can understand and turn those weaknesses into strengths or into lessons or into abilities that I can catapult off of.
Yeah.
So like stillness is excellent. And because stillness is an art form, it's just sitting down and doing nothing. And so I use stillness also in many very different shades of gray. So like when I come home, I put my phone in a different room and I leave it there for a second. That's a form of stillness for me. I will go outside and stand in the yard with my bare feet and do nothing. And so like there's beauty in doing nothing for a second, and it recharges me and it allows me to find more clarity, more wisdom within myself and let the brain kind of like undo itself, and
It's like
I think we need to do that.
I'm like, it's like that Pulp Fiction quote. What does she say? She's like, isn't it nice to like not fucking yak all the time, just to like enjoy silence together? I think that's one of the first times I realized that I was in love with you was when we could just be quiet together and it wasn't awkward and it wasn't weird. It was just like, felt like home because we could just be still and we could just be quiet and we could just be watching the waves or looking at the birds or doing something so minimal and small and still like want to be together, and like want to do it together, which is cool.
Yeah, I think we do like silence a lot. Like just like nothing is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do really do like that. Family time, I think family time's important. We'll come up with ideas to do like, hey, let's color or do some arts and crafts and play music, and like those moments I think Paisley will always remember.
Yeah.
Go ride bikes. We make decisions to do things together where that's good quality time that you can never buy with money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they put a price on that shit.
I had this like epiphany when I was at EDC Las Vegas and I was in this flow state dancing and this epiphany kind of came to me, or download, whatever you want to call it. And it was just about like the dynamic we have, the three of us, and just how beautiful that is and how this is this time in her life and in our lives where it's just going to be the three of us, and we get to like shower her and love her and give her all the attention. And I found myself getting teary-eyed because I realized that like one day that's going to shift, and I can feel it in my chest right now because it's like it's gonna change. Like we plan to have children, and this is just a really beautiful time where we really get to know each other on such an intimate level because it is just the three of us, and then me and her have our own time, and then you guys have your own time together, and it won't always be like that. And sometimes it can be fleeting and you just want to hold on to that, because we do like have all of this really beautiful quality family time that I know Paisley appreciates. And that's what's the whole point of being here, Like to me, that's the whole point of being a human, is to like really be in those present moments with your children and just being able to connect on such a deep level with your heart, you know, rather than like, oh, we're going to go do this and we're going to go do that. Like sometimes the simplest stuff, like painting in the garage with Paisley, is all she needs. You know, it doesn't have to look like a 5-day vacation to Disney World. Like, yeah, that's fucking rad, but she craves like that slow, intimate connection that I think we really give her.
I think we all crave that.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all crave intimacy, with connection, with transparency, with love.
Which is another great value.
What's that?
Intimacy.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
oh yeah? Did you? Did you forget about that one?
So that's why we have our own list. And so we compare and contrast, and then we make standards for our home. So that's kind of like where we're at is we compare those notes and be like, hey, like I have this one. And we're both counterparts of one another. So we see what we had missed. Yeah. And that's like how we operate. And I think we both resonate with all of these, right? But like if you might have something that may be missing, you show it to me and then be like, okay, I agree on that.
Yeah. And our teacher says, oh, let's print it out. Let's actually like frame it and let's hang it in the house where it says what our standards are. So that way we are walking by it. We're constantly aware that those are what we are trying to strive for. And it's not saying that we're going to fall short, because we will. But we can always be like, hey, we're getting far off from these standards that we have set right now. So let's take a break, take some space from each other until we can come back into harmony, you know? And I kind of like that, because if you're talking about, what is it, feng shui or feng shui?
Feng shui.
That for sure has something to do with the feng shui of your house, like hanging that on your house to be the foundation of what your relationship is going to look like, feel like, and just really always striving to be those things, you know?
Yeah. So feng shui is pretty interesting.
Feng
It's feng, Feng. It's hard to depict the Chinese characters into English, but essentially feng is wind.
Okay.
And shui is water. So essentially, like, it's in Chinese culture, you're harnessing and influencing the life flow of water. You're essentially the water bender of your home. And so it has a certain way things move, and like it's the flow of life. So you want the flow of things inside you, creating a harmonious environment inside your house. So like that's just the way it's worked. But there's people who literally study feng shui energy, and they're feng shui masters.
Yes. So
it's
Amber,
crazy.
Our friend, she was just telling me about that. She was telling me that every house has a money corner. And so if you find out, like, we could have someone come to the house and who will say like, oh, this is the money corner. So you paint it purple, and you kind of like, they'll give you colors and things that you should put in that corner to help build your money up. Mm-hmm. And then she was also saying that people who live in a home tend to hang out in specific areas of the home. And so there's reasons why you can find that out, which I thought that was so funny, because Paisley's always in the living room. Yeah. Or in her room, and you're in the living room, and I'm in my room. I'm like always in my room. I love being in my room. And yeah, she was telling me about that, and I was kind of mind blown. But then it's also like, you're supposed to face your bed a certain way too when you sleep, but it's not always ideal, because in our room, we only have one wall we can actually put our bed on, you know? But I would like to do that. Like, I feel like that might shift some energies of how things work if we just like looked into that. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. That what you're referring to is called a Bagua map.
Oh, yes.
It's a literal Bagua map. And I mean, Amber even had like, she had like dragon eggs.
Oh,
something like that.
Different Amber. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she had like dragon eggs like installed like at the base of her restaurant, right? Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like each of these things have different elements in regards to like family and health is the element of wood. I want to say like fame and reputation is fire, and also like children and creativity is like metal. There's like different elements. So like they'll have like yeah, metal goes to like the center or the right. It depends. Like it's crazy. There's a whole fucking thing with it with this Bagua map. But
and I've also heard like with feng shui. Am I
Yeah.
saying that right? It seems so.
Feng
It's like
shui
a tongue twister. Feng shui. Like your altar that you have in your house. If you have a 2-story house, the altar is actually supposed to be on the second floor. Which I don't know why, but I've heard that that's a thing in like Chinese culture, and they always have their altars on the second floor. It's not on the first floor, which maybe we should look into that and see why that is the way it is.
I mean, it does make sense. I mean, I came to this conclusion like that I want to like instill ancient practices because these people have already mapped this shit out
Yeah.
thousands of years ago. And we thought we could come in here and start capitalizing on shit and start changing things when things were good the way they were before. I mean, not saying that we can kind of create a sense of evolution or innovation for stuff, but like there's a specific way these people figure things out.
Yeah.
And even starting off the conversation with astrology, like there's a famous quote that's that goes like this: millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. So like these motherfuckers, these billionaires, they know this shit. They know that these are the secrets of how to come up on top.
Yeah.
So like, and a good example is that Apple and iPhone, they'll put the new iPhone out on the 28th of the month because the 28th is number of wealth. They know this shit. Like it's not fucking rocket science, but they know the secrets and they know what to do. Like they know each thing has an imprint of energy and they use it to their advantage. Like for instance, Vladimir Putin, that motherfucker uses numerology for everything he does.
Damn.
And he is super smart and he understands like the chakra system. He understands all type of energy, and even like Russian intelligence is crazy. Like you go to like Russia, like they understand everything as far as forms of energy go.
I'm like, remember when we were watching that Superhuman documentary and they were reading books with like 3 layers of blindfolds on?
Yeah.
That was insane. It's like they're ahead of the game because they trust that. Western civilization does not trust that.
Yeah.
We're so deeply programmed into Christianity. I think that it closes the doors for any type of witchcraft, right? Because it's all deemed witchcraft. And it's just energy, which is what we are made up of. But in Russia, like watching that was mind blowing to me because it's like they're fucking ahead of the game. They know what they're doing over there with some of the stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of come to the conclusion too, like that the Roman Catholic Church would demonize the witches or whatever. They would burn them at the stake because they saw that was a form of power that they couldn't control. And so it was an opportunity for them to just wipe them out. It's basically a genocide of people, you know, a genocide of a practice.
Yeah.
And then make people program them that these things are actually going to keep you from going to heaven.
Yeah.
Which that's a fucking lie.
Yeah. So they're going to keep you from going to heaven, but they're also going to keep you stagnant and stuck in all of your patterns, all of your pain, because they don't want you to have access to these things to elevate your consciousness. Like that's the whole bit of this game, of this computer game we're in, right? Is like, what can we do, the government, and all of them, what can we do so that they do not ever find out their potential?
Well, first of all, let's poison their food.
Yeah.
And let's make them sick like that.
Yeah.
And so subtly start poisoning these people and then give those people who have poisoned them money.
Yeah.
And make them rich.
Exactly.
You know what's crazy is Vladimir Putin, he has deemed spraying glyphosate on crops as a terrorist act.
Wow.
So if you spray which we spray all of our crops
Every
with
single
glyphosate, which is poison, which keeps you sick, which makes your hormone regulation just makes you extremely sick, right?
Yeah.
Everything, whatever it is, right? Autism, all that bullshit. It's a terrorist act in Russia. You spray that shit. And we just love spraying stuff. And we've sprayed it so much now that the plants that we, take fruits and vegetables from, our grains, it's now gotten into the soil. So now if they stopped spraying the glyphosate, the plants will now absorb the glyphosate from the soil. So that's why we're demineralized in America, because all of our fruits and vegetables have now had no mineral absorption inside the value of that plant or the grains we eat. So a clear example is when we go to Europe, what happens? We eat a fucking bunch of gluten because we can, because it's not poison anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, years ago I made I made a dedication to myself to just remove poison from myself, poison from my diet, and that was huge. So, kind of got off topic with that, but
we were talking about Vladimir Putin and
these crazy, like, and these Russian psychics, they had like a remote viewing where the CIA was like, hey, these Russians are spying on us through psychic activity. We got to do the same. So they started giving everyone LSD. They started making our own psychics so we would spy on them during the Cold War, and we would able to, find information.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I mean, it's a wild concept that's actually happening,
Did you want to say something? You just stopped. What the fuck happened?
I just stopped. I lost my train of thought.
In essence, everything is energy and the form of vibration and frequency. It's the essence of all things. So use these things to advantage. We came all the way from feng shui, all the way to spraying glyphosates on crops. And that's just where it's at.
That's where we go.
So in reference to relationships, do you want a relationship or do you want a relationship? Find your values. And discover who you are first. Then you can ripple that out to your family, to your loved ones, to your friends, to your coworkers, and then ultimately to humanity.
Yeah.
So I am under the impression that we are upon the great awakening of a human species that is here to step past all the control, all the lies, all the bullshit. And because of me doing that, and that's my intention, my Instagram got taken off.
Oh my gosh.
My personal Instagram was disabled and dismounted because it was saying I was spreading misinformation. So I don't know what the fuck happened, but that's some bullshit.
Yeah, that is some
bullshit. And it's crazy because like I'm here as a truth seeker, as someone who is wanting people to see the truth and to awaken to what we are as human beings.
Yeah.
And you get punished for that shit. I think there is like people had reported some things I had said in reference to me supporting iboga. Also reporting things like saying things like vaccinations. But I don't even think I've never been like a really huge anti-vaxxer. I just let people make their own mess with that stuff. Like I don't really give a shit. I mean, I wouldn't vaccinate my own kids, but that's just my own personal choice and decisions on stuff. But yeah, my shit got taken down and now I got to appeal that stuff. I'm glad it didn't take down the Grab Lives Instagram, but I have noticed that my Grab Lives Instagram feed has been shadow banned because I noticed like over time, like I'll get like 40 views and I'll ask some of my friends like, hey, dude, do you follow the Grab Lives Instagram page? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I don't ever see you post anything. So we've kind of seen like the algorithm got shadow banned a long time ago when possibly we were talking about how the vaccinations for firefighters, how that fucked up a lot of guys. And that video came on. I think that's when the change started happening. It just looped all Grab Lives feeds behind anything else. But you know what will come up? Thought traps and any type of other liberal stuff, liberal propagandas will be fucking the first thing you see when you open up your Instagram page.
Yeah.
Which is fucking nuts. And it makes me like want to get angry,
Well, I mean, because they're shadow banning what they want. It's control. It's mind control. They're like, this is how we're going to control you. We're going to ban your media, but we're going to promote our own, It's like the same thing during the election when you would Google Donald Trump. Let's just say, like, I tested this theory out. If you Googled Donald Trump, all of Kamala Harris's stuff came up.
I remember that.
You remember that? That was so wild because I was like, this is probably a conspiracy theory, but it wasn't. It was actual reality.
Without a doubt.
And that's just the name of the game. That's what they're doing. And you have to like not get caught up in it because as soon as you're like, yes, that's the way, that's not the way, it's got you.
Yeah, as soon as you have engaged in some type of emotion towards a political party or a identification with a belief system, you are out of the game. They have got you. And the point is to be in the game. It's time to reclaim your power as a sovereign human being and to discover what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And that starts with believing in yourself. Number one, shedding your trauma, shedding all your debris that has been given to you to have to make you sick, to make you blind, to make you not see what's really true.
Yeah.
And as soon as you got caught up in all this political bullshit, you're fucked. So let it go. Let your eyes see that there's something bigger that's in charge. The people who run this fucking planet are rich and powerful, and those people would be the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds.
Yeah, and the work that you like, what you can do to participate in the changes that we want to see is the work on yourself, like the unwinding of your own programmings and the unwinding of your belief systems. That's the work that you can do, is because you can look at yourself and be like, oh, am I being hateful right now? Am I being judgmental? Am I navigating from my heart? If I'm not doing that, then I need to take the steps to be able to learn to do that. That is actually what's going to help this collective consciousness and the collective for this planet right now through the evolution that it's experiencing. That's what needs to be done, is the work on you.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it starts. You know, it takes a spark to ignite the larger flame that's hidden within. And as we start to unravel this, you know, I think that there's groups that are now being ignited, and they now are being the light to expand. And now that expansion is attracting those other people who are now remembering what that is.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with, you know, look at our health, man. It's here to show you. And stick to your health. Health is wealth, baby. If you do not value your health, then you're fucked.
You have to value your health.
But don't get stuck, man. Don't get stuck. Like, you have to make sure that that's a priority, you know? And I think once you realize your health is a priority, then your spiritual health, your spiritual sickness that has been suppressed now starts to link up. And your emotions are super important with that. Like, your emotional health, your emotional well-being, your emotional intelligence coincides in tandem with the spiritual self. And when I'm talking about spirituality, I'm not talking about religious dogma. I'm not talking about doctrine that shows you how you're supposed to save yourself. That's not how this works. Spirituality is about connection to yourself, to connection to other human beings. And when you're around another human being, they feel that. They resonate with what that is. That's spirituality. And your spirit of who you are, of whom you're designed to be, is that in itself. So this vision and this idea of what God is, that word causes people to shrink or expand inside, right?
Yeah.
They feel fear or they feel power. So it's funny when people say the word God, right? There's so many different connotations and interpretations of what that is. But in the essence, it is God is consciousness. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is what is, that in itself. And so these indigenous cultures who understood the nature of all things, they saw everything have a consciousness. And not only did everything have a consciousness, that everything was intelligent in that consciousness. Even a rock. They believed and hold rocks as precious things. And they valued that. And so these indigenous cultures learned the respect of all things. And I think as time has progressed, we've lost a sense of self-respect because we don't respect the world we live in.
Yeah, and we have to check ourselves to see how many flowers of hate we're growing in our garden.
That's pretty good.
You know, like, we really have to check that. Like, how many flowers of hate are you growing? Because they're not going to thrive, you know?
Yeah, I've used that quote that you tend to the garden that is within your reach. It's because if you try to save the world, you're not going to do that. You're actually going to carry a heavy burden, because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And when I was doing a lot of trauma work on myself, we work on somatic work on the body. Haley and I, we work on each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, man. Like I thought I could do it all. And it's not how it works. You don't carry that weight on yourself. You have to be responsible for what's yours. And so tend to the garden that is within your reach, because you're going to be carrying all that other shit and it's not worth it. You are not the one who's going to be the savior complex, because the savior complex is a falsehood in within itself. So what had been extremely important for me to understand was two things, in which I find to be the essence of all healing of humanity, is the Buddhahood, which is a frequency within yourself to liberate the mind from all suffering, and the Christ consciousness, which is a frequency that is dormant within yourself to ignite, to open your heart, to find unity and love within all things. These two things I find to be the Buddhahood, which is a masculine energy, the Christ consciousness, which is a feminine energy to create, to nurture, to be receptive. And ultimately, those two merge as one and the same together to bring enlightenment.
Yeah. It's funny you just said that, because I was looking for that right now on my phone, because I listen to Ram Dass so much,
Okay.
you know? And I want to read this because this is like a really beautiful reflection of relationships. But it says, when you're committing to relationship, you are using the other person to see through the veil of separateness. So you stop identifying with your needs, because when you identify with your needs, you always stay at the level where the other person is her or him, satisfying that need. And it only gets extraordinarily beautiful when it becomes us, and then us becomes I. Relationship yoga is the hardest form of yoga, because your ego is so vulnerable. When you open to another human being, you feel tender and vulnerable. And people come together to be in love, then they get caught in their needs and their frustrations, and then they separate. We tend to put relationships a little bit on the back burner in life. And yoga of a relationship is a full-time operation for years to come. You keep working together, keep emptying, keep clearing, work until you are one shared awareness. It's the same thing you're saying, like we dance as the two to become the one. And you ask each other, will you help me awaken by sharing your truth with me? It may be difficult for me to hear it well, but that's the work that I have to do on myself. Sometimes our truths can be different and yours can be painful for me, but we trust each other because we're both committed to awakening. When you can see and honor that part, then we can see what each other is doing. So I see how I'm manipulating and you can see how you're manipulating, you know? And we can both bring it out together to examine it and actually look at it and see that it's just old karma running off.
I like that. It does make sense, right? Like, and it does make sense too, because men are more mental and female energy is more emotional.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the merging of two, you know, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's essentially what we are. Can you bring up the Grab Lives Instagram page? There was like a post I did and I wanted to read it off, but I turned my phone off.
Yeah.
It was the one, try to look it up. You find it? Hurry up, girl.
Well, I clicked G and
Oh, it just came
a
up.
different account came up.
It was the life learnings. And I really want to close this episode on this because it was really important to me. And I really find that this can be like a foundational cornerstone in people's lives if you can really master these lessons. So also, if you are on Grab Live's Instagram page, try to interact, because this shit has been banned because we try to speak the truth and we try to help people work through trauma and end this epidemic of firefighters committing suicide, along with police officers and veterans. So,
and everybody, really.
Right. And this podcast has really been for humanity in itself. I really do believe that, because it is. We are all on this path. You know, we have to do this together. But I mean, I have this job that I'm working with these people, and I want to help them. So these lessons, the most expensive currency, your attention. The most awakening mirror, relationships. Most courageous act, telling the truth. Most misunderstood power, stillness. Most invisible violence, self-betrayal. Most radical rebellion, self-respect. Most sacred attire, embodiment. Most seductive illusion, control. Most sacred boundary, silence. Most potent healer, presence. Purest success, inner peace. Quietest power, boundaries. Greatest detox, letting go. Deepest safety, self-trust. Wisdom equals embodied love. Truest wealth, self-worth. And when I read that, I mean, I can,
whoa.
when I read that, like just feel this emotion of just like, man, it really hits so hard. And like, I can like tear up right now just thinking about it because it's so fucking true. And I've been through all those fucking lessons.
Yeah, it's so true. You really have. I think we both have.
I've been through all those lessons, and they've deemed to run so true within my DNA and within like my spirit of who I am, because all the other stuff that is surrounding those lessons are a false version of me that is scared, that is angry, that is sad, that grieves the past, that grieves change, that grieves the lack of love that I've shown myself, the lack of things that I've failed to show up as.
Yeah.
But the opportunity of power that comes from that is evolution, is peace, is liberation. And I hope people can listen and understand like that's where it's at. And the materialistic way we've been programmed, it's not that. It's not any of these things. It's not any form of control. And so snap out of it. Awaken to yourself. Awaken to those lessons. And if you don't see it, it's time to see it. It's time to awaken to that shit.
Yeah, and also like awaken to the fact that in a relationship, it's both of your first experiences here, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is our first time that we can remember. Maybe we've been reincarnated, but that we can remember being here. This is our first time for us to like make the mistakes, learn from them, but also to evolve and learn to become the best version of ourselves.
Amen.
Amen.
Aho, Sat Nam.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Aho, Namatakiaoshte, which is a Cherokee expression of in relation to all things.
What a conclusion. That's a great conclusion for this podcast episode.
So we're going to start doing more of these episodes and relationships in relation to firefighter wives. So Haley's going to be that the new guest that's going to be coming on, because I think there's a need for change on the podcast Grab Lives platform, because we evolutionize, and I'm evolutionizing whatever I do all the time. And I sit with my intuition and see what needs to be done. I think relationships are super hard, especially in this career. So thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.
I want everyone to just know that I really care about, I take this very seriously. I am very proud of this work that I do. And I want everyone to be safe. I want everyone to transform. I want everyone to heal. But we do not heal alone. We heal together. So please like and subscribe, Grab Lives. And if you can, go on Instagram and do the best you can to keep that from getting shadow banned and so forth. Comment, like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Nick, everyone, I love you.
It's time for Grab Lives.